Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me. I am still tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It is still in the description below. It is still your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. I am tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Now, the original Patek Philippe Nautilus Chronograph launched in 2006. The rose gold model launched in 2010. That's exactly what we have right here. The Patek Philippe Nautilus Chronograph 5980R001. And the watch you see here features a lovely and elegant combination of rose gold case, alligator leather strap, and then a full folding clasp. Taking a quick look at how it fits, it's still 40.5 millimeters, and it's reasonably thin at 12.5. It's actually quite close, within fractions of a millimeter to a Rolex Daytona, so while it looks fairly chunky and thick, it's actually not that thick. Now, the best way to understand the way this watch fits isn't 40.5 millimeters in diameter. It is 52.2 millimeters from end link to end link. You see how I cannot downwardly compress these end links? So this whole thing spans 52.2 across your wrist, and there is some stiffness to the strap, so it flares and it fights a bit. So if you do have a wrist my size, you're going to find a little bit like a Royal Oak offshore. This watch tends to wear about a size larger, so I'd recommend you think of it as more of like a 42 round watch to get an idea of how it actually fits. Again, my wrist 16 centimeters circumference for those who are new to the channel, so you get a reference point. It fits just fine, but I think that a 15 centimeters circumference is probably the smallest wrist that can wear the watch on this relatively stiff alligator leather strap. Now, they do make an almost identical rubber strap that can be used for swimming, so that would probably be a bit more supple, although when the leather wears in, it would probably gain the advantage in that regard. So if you can bear with the leather until it softens up, it's probably your best bet for fit. The rubber can offer instant gratification and water resistance. It has a sloped flank, and it will slide fairly easily underneath the cuff, so don't worry about that. This watch is somewhat dressy for a Nautilus, and though a sports watch, you can absolutely dress this up. The strap is large rectangular scale alligator leather. It's dark brown. It's a matte finish. It has a monotone stitch. You can see it has a very broad folded execution, so it's not actually sheer cut. Then on the bottom calf skin, you can see no crimping, no gouging. Patek Philippe factory strap, and it is joined to the case using these intermediate polished links. On the opposite side, we have a folding clasp, twin trigger release. You press the triggers, it opens up. Not friction fit, it cannot open accidentally. You can see it's a double folds deployant, and it is Nautilus branded. So not just Patek Philippe, but Nautilus itself. On the underside, this model-specific clasp features a screw that can be used to fix it in the opposite side of the strap. So it offers even more security against accidental droppage than a normal deployant, because you can't accidentally pull the strap through the buckle as you are donning or removing your watch. You can see the Patek maker's mark in the buckle. Patek is a full-line manufacturer of watches, not just movements, but also dials, cases, clasps, and bracelets. The case, traditional, inspired by Gerald Genta's original Patek Philippe Nautilus 3700 in 1976. Patek does a good job integrating the chronograph pushers, so the winglets that define the shape of the case are still prominent and still the dominant features, and these pushers blend in nicely with sort of streamlined taper. One of the reasons a Nautilus, even a standard 5711 or 5811, costs more than an Aquanaut is the complexity of the case assembly. 3 pieces, so case back, mid case, and then this bezel assembly that also features overarching wings. All this screws together and combines with a screw-down crown to achieve 120-meter water resistance in spite of the addition of the chronograph pushers. Now, because this movement is based on the 5960s flyback chronograph annual calendar, it uses the same kind of date setting mechanism as the annual calendar. So you can see there's a pusher adjuster for the date on the flank of the case. Now, the watch has a screw down crown with Patek Philippe's Calatrava Cross logo, and then you can see that the case is finished with polished bevels, satinated flanks, satin lug hoods. We have polished outer outcroppings to the wing profiles. The bezel features a combination of satin and polish when viewed in profile, then a rounded and polished sloped flank and then vertical satination from top to bottom. It's a rounded polygon like the bezel of Gerald Genta's 1972 Royal Oak, but I always felt the Nautilus was more fully realized because with the Royal Oak, yeah, you have that rounded octagonal bezel, but the inner bezel, the crystal, and the dial are just round. Here you can see outer bezel, inner bezel, crystal, and dial all have that rounded polygonal shape. We'll do a lume shot real quick so you can see the watch in the dark. It has no shortage of luminescence. We have the traditional lateral striations that characterize most Nautilus dials. We have white on brown bronze printing, and we do have a brown bronze metallic sunburst. It's a gradient fade, so light at the center, dark, almost black at the edge. We have a mono counter down at 6 o'clock featuring chronograph hours as well as chronograph minutes. And this is a flyback chronograph, so it has the convenient ability to reset and restart without first stopping. Great for timing events or intervals that occur in rapid succession. Hands, as well as indices, are 18-karat rose gold, so over time they won't tarnish or oxidize. Turning it over, we have a movement that first debuted on the 5960 and the original 5980, the 28520. This was Patek Philippe's first ever in-house automatic winding chronograph caliber. Now it's fairly large, it fills the case back well. It's got a unidirectional automatic winding action with ceramic bearings for low maintenance and low friction, 55-hour power reserve. It's got a 4 Hertz beat rate. It features 35 pivot jewels, 6 position adjustment, a free-sprung Gyromax style balance, and an anti-magnetic Spiromax silicone hairspring. So it's very durable, but also very accurate. And so this is rated no worse than -3 + 2 seconds per day from the factory. Finish is excellent. You can see in particular the stripes in circular fashion, the black polishing of the screw heads, and the beveling of the bridges and the rotor, quite impressive. You can also see between the center of the rotor and the base plate, we actually have several different sizes of engine-turned perlage. Some of the elements of the chronograph, which are in steel, feature a satin finish. You can see the column wheel, an unconventional column wheel, but a column wheel all the same. And then you can see that some of the locating pegs used to locate the levers and the springs, those are actually polished on their heads, which is a nice touch. And the steel parts of the chronograph are beveled on their sides, so no detail left unturned. While it is a medley of mechanical and hand finishing, we have considerably more hand finishing here than on a lot of other high luxury brands. Moser, FP Journe, and Audemars Piguet have relatively less hand finishing on their mainstream models. Now we also have a vertical clutch system, which means no jump or stagger when you engage the chronograph. You see how the seconds hand starts up without leaping forward? That's because there is no play in a vertical clutch, and because there's no wear and tear, you can actually leave it running full time if you want, if you just like to have running seconds on the dial, because you can see there is no running seconds indication here. So if the chrono's off, it's a fairly dead dial. Some people like to have the seconds running full time, and though the watch doesn't have hacking seconds, beaten away at 4 Hertz as it is, you can use the flyback if you want to use the seconds hand for the chronograph as the seconds hand for the time. Set the time and wait till the seconds hand of your reference clock passes 12, and then just use the flyback, and now you've effectively hacked your running seconds hand. A little hack, if you will. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.